Today, I will share with you 3 unsettlingly disturbing college horror stories based on real events. The Cursed Memories, My College Nightmare, by Spud Johnson. I remember it like it was yesterday, even though it's been over 40 years. The memory is etched into my mind like a scar that refuses to fade. I was young then, full of hope, unaware that my life was about to be shattered by something beyond human comprehension. It happened during my college days at an ancient, decaying campus, its walls groaning with secrets, its air thick with whispers of the forgotten. Students spoke in hushed tones about the old building at the edge of the campus, where strange occurrences plagued those who dared to enter. Some said it was cursed, others claimed it was haunted. I had never believed in ghosts until that night. The evening was suffocatingly still, the kind of silence that makes your skin crawl. A cold wind slithered through the empty corridors as I wandered alone, the flickering fluorescent lights above me stuttering like dying stars. Shadows stretched unnaturally along the cracked walls, writhing as if alive. With every step, my heartbeat pounded louder, matching the eerie rhythm of the groaning wood beneath my feet. Then I saw it. At the end of a narrow hallway where no light had ever shone, something pulsed, a faint, otherworldly glow, slow and steady like a dying breath. My gut twisted, screaming at me to turn back. But something else, something dark and unseen, pulled me forward. I stopped before an ancient wooden door, its surface riddled with deep, claw-like gouges. The brass handle was ice-cold beneath my trembling fingers. The moment I touched it, a sudden whisper slithered through the air. Too close, too real. It wasn't in English. It wasn't in any language I knew. And yet, I understood. It was calling my name. The door creaked open on its own. A blast of frigid air rushed out, carrying the scent of rotting wood and something else, something wet. The room beyond was swallowed by darkness, save for a lone, swaying lamp casting jagged, erratic shadows. The air was thick and oppressive, as if I had entered the very belly of a sleeping beast. And then I saw him. A figure stood in the gloom, unnaturally tall, its gaunt form twisted as if pieced together by nightmares. Its hollow, sunken eyes burned with an unearthly fire, a smoldering hunger that froze me in place. The air around him hummed, vibrating like a swarm of unseen insects. Then he moved. He didn't walk, nor did he glide. He shifted like a shadow flickering between dimensions. One moment, he was across the room. The next, he was inches from my face. I tried to scream, but the sound died in my throat, as if the very air had been ripped from my lungs. Something cold traced my cheek, a touch not of this world. My skin burned where it made contact, an icy brand searing into my flesh. It was marking me, claiming me. And then the whisper screamed. A deafening, bone-rattling cacophony of voices filled the room, chanting in that cursed language, words I understood yet could never speak. My legs finally obeyed, and I ran, crashing through the darkened halls. The walls seemed to close in, twisting into a maze with no escape. The whispers chased me, slithering through my ears, promising that I would never be free. I didn't stop until I burst into the freezing night air, collapsing onto the damp earth, gasping like a drowning man. The night was silent once more, the building standing still, guarding its secret horrors. The next morning, I returned, and the door was gone. The hallway where I had seen the glow had vanished, They tore that cursed building down years later. But I know the truth. Some places are not destroyed so easily. Some nightmares don't fade. They latch on to you, burrow into your soul, waiting, watching. Even now, as an old man, I hear the whispers when the night grows too quiet. I feel the icy touch on my skin when I close my eyes. I see that haunting glow in the distance beckoning me back. I share this story not to scare you, but to warn you. If you ever find yourself drawn to places where the shadows run deep, where the silence is too unnatural, and where the air hums with unseen voices, run. Because some nightmares do not stay behind. Some follow you home. The Cursed Dorm, a true college horror story by Professor Alexander Malcolm Hawthorne. Tonight, I share a story that will send shivers down your spine. This is my true account of the night when my college life transformed into an unimaginable nightmare. I still remember that chilly autumn evening at the heart of campus when a group of us, brave, if not a little foolish, dared to explore the infamous Crimson Hall. Rumored to be haunted and cursed with a dark past, this decrepit dormitory beckoned us like a forbidden secret that demanded to be unveiled. As I approached Crimson Hall under a moonless sky, the building loomed ominously, its broken windows staring at me like hollow eyes filled with endless sorrow. Each step toward the heavy, creaking doors felt as if I were crossing the threshold into a realm where reality and the supernatural merged into one terrifying existence. The moment I stepped inside, I was engulfed by an eerie, ghostly glow that illuminated long-abandoned corridors. Every creaking floorboard echoed with the sounds of forgotten souls, as if the building itself were whispering the tragic history of its past. The silence was so heavy it seemed to breathe, filling the air with an almost tangible sense of despair. Venturing deeper, I could feel the oppressive weight of an unseen force, observing my every move. I had heard the legends, tales of moving shadows, slammed doors that echoed like gunshots, and a relentless spirit roaming these cursed halls. With each step, the chilling presence grew stronger, and my heart pounded louder in my chest. In one of the long-forgotten lounges, frozen in time, I discovered relics of a bygone era, dusty photographs, brittle letters, and trinkets that told stories of sorrow and regret. The atmosphere was suffocating, and as I examined a faded portrait of a young woman with haunted eyes, the temperature around me plummeted. The overhead lights began to flicker wildly, as if summoning an uninvited guest from the depths of darkness. Then, in a moment I will never forget, a distant, anguished cry shattered the silence, a raw, heart-wrenching sound that seemed to seep from the very walls themselves. I stood frozen, my breath coming in ragged gasps, as the building pulsed with an unnatural energy that defied all logic. The terror escalated to a point where I could no longer deny the presence of a dark force. I felt unseen hands brushing past me, leaving behind trails of bone-chilling fear. Mournful whispers filled the air, each one a spectral warning that intensified my dread. The corridors twisted and turned like a labyrinth of nightmares, with every shadow hinting at unspeakable horrors waiting to pounce. In a desperate search for answers, I stumbled upon a hidden journal bound in cracked leather. Its stained pages chronicled decades of agony and a curse that had long haunted Crimson Hall. With every word I read, The curse seemed to tighten its grip around me, as if the very act of unveiling its secrets was an act of summoning the demonic. My pulse raced as I tried to piece together the grim puzzle of Crimson Hall's past. I learned of tragic losses, forbidden rituals, and vengeful spirits doomed to wander these halls for eternity. The building was not merely haunted, it was alive with the echoes of suffering, and I could feel its malevolent energy seeping into my very soul. In a final, desperate bid to escape the clutches of this nightmare, I raced through the endless corridors. Every turn led me deeper into a maze of terror. Just when I thought I had found a way out, a bone-chilling whisper echoed in the darkness. "You shall never leave." The voice was not merely heard, it was felt, reverberating through every fiber of my being, binding me to that cursed place. I burst out into a narrow, overgrown courtyard, gasping for fresh air. But the horrors of Crimson Hall continued to haunt my every thought. Even now, the memory of that night haunts me, a relentless reminder that some secrets are best left buried. Crimson Hall still stands on campus, a grim monument to a dark history that refuses to be forgotten.
The creepy figure, my true dorm horror experience. Riley Donovan. I was a student at Westview University, and one night something happened in my dorm that still haunts me. I was alone, studying in my small dim room, when the coldness in the air suddenly felt unnatural. The silence was oppressive, and I could swear the darkness was watching. Before anything happened, the atmosphere in my room was already thick with tension. Every creak of the old building and every whisper of wind against the window made my skin crawl. I could feel a heavy, inexplicable presence in the stagnant air. The chill wasn't just from a draft. It seeped into my bones as if the very room was preparing me for something unspeakable. Time dragged on as I stared at the clock, each tick echoing in the eerie quiet. My heartbeat pounded louder with every passing second, building a crescendo of dread. Then, as if summoned by my mounting fear, I looked up from my notes and froze. In the doorway stood a dark, indistinct figure. I couldn't make out any features, but its presence was overwhelming, an aura of malevolence that sent a chill straight down my spine. Panicked, I lunged for the door and slammed it shut, desperate to block out whatever was there. For a fleeting moment, I believed I had succeeded, until I felt it, a cold, clammy hand gripping my shoulder. I spun around in terror, but the room was empty. All that remained was the echo of that icy touch and a deep, gnawing dread that seemed to fill every corner of my mind. I scrambled to flick on every light, trying to banish the shadows that clung to the darkness. In the brief bursts of brightness, I caught sight of something moving at the very edge of my vision, like a shadow silently sliding past the window. And then, in a whisper that froze me in place, I heard a voice that was barely audible, yet crystal clear. "You are not alone." Those words reverberated through my entire being, and for what felt like an eternity, time itself stood still. I sat there, frozen in fear, the oppressive weight of the night pressing down on me until the first faint glimmer of dawn broke through the window. Even now, years later, the memory of that night remains vivid and unyielding. I later learned that I wasn't the only one. Others in our dorm have reported similar encounters that defy all logical explanation. Sometimes, in the quiet moments before sleep, I still feel that inexplicable presence lurking just beyond the reach of the light. A constant reminder that the darkness isn't always a product of imagination. It might be something far more sinister, waiting patiently in the shadows, ready to make its presence known at the most unexpected moment. I share this story because if you ever feel that something's off in your room, you must trust your gut. The experiences I had that night changed me forever, and I know they've affected others as well. Stay safe and always double check that your door is locked. You never know when the darkness might be watching, waiting, and ready to remind you that you are never truly alone.